They said a black man attacked her, and within hours, an entire town was burning, homes destroyed, families running, people disappearing into the woods. But what most people don't know is that the story that started it all may not have been true. In the early 1900s, Rosewood, Florida was quiet, a small, mostly black community tucked away from everything else. There were no big buildings, no crowds, no constant noise, just homes, dirt roads, and people living their lives. Children ran through open spaces. Neighbors knew each other by name. Families built what they could with what they had. It wasn't perfect, but it was stable. And for years, that was enough. Just a few miles away was another town, Sumner. And between the two, there was a line, not drawn on paper, but understood. Life in Rosewood was calm, but the world around it wasn't. Across the South, tension was rising. Laws were strict, divisions were clear, and violence was never far away. It didn't take much for things to turn. Just one moment, one accusation. On New Year's Day, 1923, a woman named Fannie Taylor screamed. Neighbors heard it. People rushed toward the house. She claimed she had been attacked, and almost immediately, a name was given: a black man. No investigation, no questions, just a story, spreading faster than the truth ever could. But later, people began to question it because some accounts suggested something didn't add up. There were signs that what had happened in that house may not have been what people were told. Some believed she had been injured during an argument, not an attack. And the story was changed. But by then, it didn't matter. The damage had already begun. Within hours, men began to gather. At first, just a few, standing, talking, watching. Then more. Cars arrived. Boots hit the ground. Voices got louder. By nightfall, it wasn't a crowd anymore. It was a mob. Angry, armed, and looking for someone to blame. They didn't search for answers. They didn't want proof. They moved. And Rosewood became the target because it was close, because it was black, and because in moments like this, that was enough. They didn't just search for people, they hunted them. Dogs were brought in, not to scare, but to track, to follow the scent of anyone who had escaped. Through the woods, through the dark, families could hear them in the distance, getting closer and closer, which meant you couldn't just run, you had to disappear. Then the violence began. Homes were set on fire. Flames spread quickly from one building to the next. Gunshots echoed through the night. People ran in every direction, some barefoot, some carrying children, some with nothing at all. The air filled with smoke, and everywhere you looked, there was panic. Some families didn't just run, they disappeared into the swamps, not for hours, for days. No food, no clean water. Children had to be held tightly, not just for comfort, but to keep them quiet, because even the smallest sound could give away their location. And in the distance, they could still hear it. Dogs, voices, searching, which meant one thing: they weren't safe, even there. But in the middle of all of it, not everyone joined the violence. One man, John Wright, a white store owner, he hid Black families in his home, including children, while outside, the mob searched and waited. By the time it ended, Rosewood was gone. Not damaged, not broken, gone. Homes reduced to ash, streets empty, a town that no longer existed. No one came back. There was no rebuilding, no recovery. The land was left to disappear. And over time, it did. For decades, people didn't talk about it. Some survivors never told their children, not because they forgot, but because the fear never left. It wasn't until 1994, more than 70 years later, that the state finally acknowledged what happened. By then, most of the people who lived through it were already gone. A town erased, not by time, not by accident, but by violence and silence.